Cool. Well, thank you all for coming. Welcome to the After Effects Beginners Workshop. My name is Angelo Garcia. I am a third-year film and digital media student here at UC Santa Cruz. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am an equipment manager. So we've never done anything related to After Effects, related to like guides or something. So we've posted guides for remote learning, for Lightroom, for Photoshop, for Adobe Animate, but we've never done anything that's been made available to students for Adobe After Effects. So we are going to assume that people who are joining this workshop do not know very much about After Effects. So it is a beginner's workshop. So what is After Effects? So After Effects is a digital software that is used for visual effects, motion graphics, which is a subset of animation, compositing, and animation itself. So compositing is putting different assets together to make one single video or composition, if you will. It's very similar to Adobe Photoshop, to where you will actually layer stuff on top of each other. And the order of the layers actually does matter very much. So you have to be very careful when you are layering your project. But yeah, so let's jump a little bit into the UI. So this workspace can be very intimidating when first starting off. So for just to make sure that we are in the right settings, we are going to go up and to the window. We're going to go to workspaces, and then we're going to go to standard or default. Yeah, let's go to default for now. Just to make sure that you are in the correct workspace. I already was, but they're not necessarily going to be. It might look a little wonky depending on where you are. Sometimes it is set up for animation and it looks a little strange, but this workshop is more applied to like live footage and stuff of that sort. So this panel on the left is called the project panel, and that is where you will be putting all of your media. You'll be importing all of your photos, your videos, your music, anything that you're going to put into this project file, you are going to put in this folder. You'll also be able to see the effect controls here for different files in your composition, but we'll worry about that a little later. Yeah, so we'll import our stuff here in just a minute. On the right side here, you see the effects panel. So all of your effects. So pretty much your transitions, your text tools, your blur and sharpen tools, your paint, your brushes, your motion tracking, everything is going to be housed right over here on the right. Yeah, so there's different effect presets that you can use and all of that fun stuff. Here in the middle is your composition panel. Think of this as your preview window in Adobe Premiere Pro. So all of the edits that you're going to make are going to be visible here. You will be able to tweak and rotate different things as you would, for example, in Photoshop. So all of the effects are going to be here. This is your main output window. Cool. At the bottom here, we have your timeline panel. Think of it as the timeline in Premiere Pro, although it is a little different. In Premiere Pro, the left side here is for housing all of your media, which is actually this panel in After Effects. Here on the left, you will be able to see all of your layers stacked up on top of each other. You'll be able to see the layer properties and all of that stuff, and you'll be able to use the pick whip tool. And those are all, we'll get to that eventually. So all of your layers will be housed right here. And over here on the right, it is your timeline. You'll be able to change the length of different tracks and order them in the way that you want to. You can, so just think of it as a modified version of the Premiere Pro timeline. Up here at the very top of the screen, you will see the menu bar. You can do your file, your edits. You can add layers. You can duplicate layers, create new compositions, add new effects, generate new effects. All that stuff is going to be all up here. You can also change like the settings of your composition as well. So right below that, we're going to see the toolbar. So your select tool, your hand tool, your pen tool, your text tool, your brush tool. So these are just shortcuts to your tools that are going to be up here. So we're going to go ahead and import some of our footage. So when you go here, you can just right click on it and hit import and import file, and it'll take you to your Finder window to look for that. I personally don't like to do that I personally like to have my footage organized, and you can also go up here and file import. There's multiple ways to import stuff into here. Personally, I like to do this. I like to go here and I like to find my Finder window. I'm not sure if y'all can see this, but I'll just grab it from here and I will just drag and drop it straight into here. And it is importing that. Okay. So this is the footage that we're going to be using for this particular part of the workshop. So let's grab this one. Yeah, this is the one we're going to be using. And we can do one of two things. You can go here to new composition from footage. Again, that will make you look for the footage that you're going to do. So now that, because we have our footage already drag and drop in here, we're going to grab it and we're going to go down to this button right here. And it's going to put it in your timeline. So putting it in that button is very important because it will change the settings of your composition to the settings of the video that you just dragged in there. So it makes things a lot easier. It's just a shortcut. But we can see here that it's not exactly fit to the screen. So we're going to go here. No, hello. I'm sorry. We're going to go here and we're going to go to fit to screen. It's a little low res right now because it is rendering at a quarter. You can go here to the render settings and do full, and it'll show you like the full resolution of the clip. Don't have to do that because if you do that and you're applying different layers onto the composition, it'll start to get very jittery and very laggy. So when we go here, I like to do it at a quarter because it renders things faster. It will look a little bit low resolution, but once you export that, it'll export at the full resolution. And you can always just change it back to full resolution whenever you want to see the final product before you do export it from After Effects. So we're going to look at this right now. It's nothing too spectacular. It's rendering right now. Yeah. Okay. So from here, I want to show y'all a little bit how to use a text tool before we go into animating this. So what we're going to do with this clip, we're going to take the logo from student media, make it appear on the screen, and do some effects with the background video. And we're going to add some text, like animate some text to say Adobe After Effects Workshop. So it's essentially just an intro to the workshop, but we're going to use After Effects tools to get there. So we're going to use the text tool really quick. So you just grab the text tool here, you just click right here, and it'll add another empty layer here. And it's red. You don't have to make it red. You can go over here to the labels and you can change the label and it'll change the color of the track. We'll just look at red for now, but that's very important when it comes to organizing your clips. So be very conscientious of that, especially if you're working with multiple layers and if different layers apply to the same effect. It's good to have them the same color. It's just very easy. And it's a good way to keep things organized so that you're not mixing yourself up. Yeah, so we'll go here. Oh, add another one. Of course I did. Nope, please. Okay. Testing. Oh, that's very small. What the heck? Okay, so we'll make this a little bigger. Hello, please. Make this a little bigger. Oh, that's a lot bigger. Testing, of course. That's English. And once you have, wow, that was not correct either. Once you have your layer right here, you can actually like select out all of it and you can change the fonts, change it to whatever you would like. You can change the color and you can change the color like this. Oh, come on. You can select any color on the spectrum pretty much. Make that blue for now, why not? Yeah, so in the effects panel, you will be able to change everything as it applies to the font that you've just added. So pretty simple. It's not too off from how you do it in Premiere Pro. The layout is just a little different, but other than that, it should be pretty simple. I want to talk a little bit about masking. That's not something that we're going to do very much in this workshop. I don't think we're going to do it at all, actually. But masking is very integral to After Effects, especially if you're using it for short films or videos or something like that. And I just want to talk about it a little bit just so that you get a sense of how to use them. We're not going to use them again. But yeah, so masks, if you don't know, they're a way to essentially hide different parts of the video within the same layer that you're using. So it's very it's very handy, especially for example if a boom gets in the shot, or if you want to have text like sliding in from somewhere, yeah, like not off screen but like appearing out of nowhere. So it can be very useful. Again, so we're gonna just go here and we're going to add a mask. So we're gonna go up to, there's multiple ways to do it. Just we're gonna do a freeform mask. So we're gonna go up here to the toolbar and we're gonna go to the pen tool and we're just gonna click. Oh, nope, wait, sorry. We're gonna double click here. Then we'll go to the toolbar and then we'll click, 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 click. And that creates a mask. And it's not usually like that. I had the roto this selected. So usually it's like a straight-sided polygon. But yeah, as you can see, it creates this this mask, and it just selects this portion of the mask, of the clip. So if you open your layer settings and you go down here, we'll talk about this a little more because this can get very overwhelming very quickly. We're just going to go down to the masks. We'll open this a little more. And if you click here inverted, it'll actually invert it so that it only includes what's outside of the mask. You can also go here and go to subtract. Oh, whoops, subtract. It'll do the same thing. Yeah, let's go add for now. And if you go down here to mask path, actually, you can, oh, come on, why is it? Keeps adding it to my other screen. You can go down here to shape and you can go to reset to and rectangle. You can do rectangle and hit OK. And it'll turn into, oh, that's not a rectangle. Why didn't it turn into a rectangle? Hello? Okay, well, it turned into an ellipse. Then turn into a rectangle for some reason. And you'll be able to grab that and drag that around. And you can change the properties here in the transform, I believe. And you can just play with that a little bit more. Just looking down here, I just want to touch a little bit on the mask feather, because when you're masking, it is very important to use this, because otherwise it's just going to be a solid a solid line in the middle of your shot, and it's going to be very obvious. So you can feather the mask and the edges will get blurred out a little more, and it'll be less obvious. You're going to have to tinker with this a little more. You can play with the opacity and just try to hide that mask as best you can. So we're going to get rid of this mask really quick. Boop. And okay, so we have this clip. And I'm just going to explain what we're going to do before we do it, just so y'all can, don't have a better idea before we do it. And again, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. So what we're going to do here, what we're going to do with this clip is we're going to add the student media logo and put that somewhere in the timeline right now. We're not going to worry about it right now. We're going to add a Gaussian blur to this clip. We're going to add a slow digital zoom, not very much, just to add some depth to it, just some movement to it. Then we're going to grab the logo and we're going to fade it in. We're not doing anything too fancy with it right now, just for the sake of time, and using the opacity tool. And after that, we are going to animate the text for the Adobe After Effects workshop. And we're going to animate that and have it shoot into the frame from off right into the center of the frame. And we're going to change the skew on the text to make it seem like it's going fast and it bends back into place. And we're gonna add some motion blur. So we're gonna add quickly the logo to the timeline. And so you can see it's actually very huge right now. So we're gonna move this down and we're gonna click shift. And then we're gonna click on this edge and then we're gonna click shift and resize it so that it resizes proportionally and doesn't like do this weird distortion stuff. We don't want that. So we're gonna grab this edge, then we're gonna hit select, and we are going to drag it down to the size that we want. Then we're gonna put it here, front and center. I think that's center. If again, you can just tweak this to make it as best you can. It looks low res again because it is rendering at a quarter. And then we are going to grab this and we're just gonna reduce the length so that it appears later in the timeline. So right now we see if you play it back, you play it, it's not there, and then it appears. And it just appears. It's not anything special, it just appears. At least not yet. So we're gonna worry about that in a little bit. We're gonna turn the opacity off just so we can't see it right now while we're working with the other layer. So we'll turn that off here using this little eyeball icon over here. And to add the Gaussian blur, it's actually pretty simple. It's not too hard. So we're gonna go over here to the effects and presets. Thank God I put it back there. We're gonna go to Gaussian blur. Okay, go here. We're gonna drag and drop onto the background clip. And yeah, so now you'll see if we go here to the layer properties, we'll open this up and we'll see the Gaussian blur has already been applied to the layer. So we're going to open this up a little more. And we're going to use keyframes here. And a keyframe is it's pretty simple. They're just these little anchor points for different actions in an animation. So they signal the beginning and the end of an action. And in this instance, we're going to have it change over time. So if you have, for example, one keyframe at like 5 frames and then another keyframe like 30 frames later, and add a blur to it, like a 0 to 100, it's going to increase from 0 from that keyframe to 100 in that time that you've allocated for it. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to blurriness, which is right here, and we're going to click on this stopwatch right here, and that's going to create our first keyframe. And the first keyframe will have the settings that you applied first. So for example, if I get rid of this and I do 100 and start here, it'll start at 100. And you can change that again to 75, whatever you want, and it'll start at that blurriness. So for this project, we're going to start at 0. We're going to drag it over, maybe allocate like, I don't know, like a second, 2 seconds. Then we're going to add another keyframe to set that stopping point. So we're going to set it to 100. You can do 75, it's whatever, it's a matter of preference. And now that we go here, and if we push play, it's going to slowly blur out. And if we turn this layer back on, it's just going to appear again. It's just going to go like, boop, nothing too special. So we're going to add some motion to this. And there's a few ways to do this. What I like to do is I like to add just motion to it. It's like increase the scale. So we're going to open this transformation tab right here. And you are going to get all of the settings for moving this project around. So you're going to get the anchor point, which is right in the middle, the position, and the scale. Like everything is already like this. It's set to the project settings. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create this like very slow but gradual digital zoom, and that's going to take up the whole length of the clip. So we're going to have a keyframe at the beginning and a keyframe at 100% and a keyframe at the end, let's say at 125%, so that it increases gradually as it goes. So we're going to, this is position, sorry. We're going to add a keyframe here. We're going to hit the stopwatch. It's very important. And this one's very simple. We just go all the way to the end. We drag this all the way to the end. And we're going to add another keyframe. And let's say just to 125. 125. And it scales everything proportionally so that your length isn't scaling more than your width. You can definitely do that if you unlink these so that it morphs and it distorts a little bit. We're not going to do that for this project, for this specific instance. So let's actually undo all that. And now when you go here, there's a little bit of a zoom, and it zooms in as it blurs out. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work with the logo that we added, and we haven't really done much yet. So we're going to find a point where we want the logo to fade in. So let's see, let's say there. Actually, that was perfect. That was almost perfect. What we're going to do is we're going to open the project file, the files properties for this specific clip. So what we're going to do is just open this up, go to transformation. And what we're going to want to manipulate here is the opacity so that it appears gradually. It doesn't just pop up, it like fades in. And that's, again, not anything too special, but so for the simplicity's sake, let's just go with the opacity tool. And we're going to set this first at 0. So we're setting the first keyframe to 0 so that it starts off invisible. And we're going to give it maybe, I don't know, like half a second. So like 12 frames. We're going to add another clip, another keyframe, and we're going to raise the opacity to 100. And again, you can toy with this a little more with the timing. You can make the opacity less. You can start with more. It just really depends on the preference. So once we do this, we'll push play again, and it fades in. So from here, we're going to add the text. And I don't want the text just to appear, just fade in. That'd be a little boring. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the text, and it's just going to like speed in from the left. And so to do that, we're going to add a new font, a new text, and we're going to write after. Oh, that's not right. Oh. And then we're going to position this right here. Okay. So we're going to change it to purple just because After Effects is purple. It's going to be, not that much contrast because there's purple in the background, but I'm okay with that for now, just for simplicity's sake. Does anyone want to pick a font? Please pick a font. If y'all don't pick a font, I'm going to put Comic Sans, and no one likes Comic Sans.
Do Comic Sans.
Okay. Comic Sans regular. Okay. So again, here on the right side, you'll be able to change the text, the fonts of the text. So you can change the separation of the letters. You can change the height of the letters. You can change all that fun stuff. You can make them, I don't know, like small caps. Oh, let's not do that. Let's do this. Not sure what that does. Yeah, so you can play with that a little bit, but again, for simplicity's sake, we're just going to keep this pretty basic. And now that we have that here, we're going to have this start after this clip appears. So we're going to have it here. Let's see that. No, let's actually start a little later. When did it? Okay. I have the start actually much later. And now here, again, it just pops up. Boop. Nothing special there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start it off screen. And again, I'm going to hit select. And I'm going to click it and hit select so that when I drag it, it goes straight. It doesn't go vertical. Well, it did there for, I don't know why. So it doesn't go vertical, and it just goes in a straight line, and it goes off screen. So that when we drag it back, it hasn't changed in height, and it'll keep the same like the same framing that we had before. So we're gonna go down here to animate. This is very important. So you see this little tab right here. We're gonna click it here. Oh no, we're gonna click the little play button right there, and we're gonna go to scale. That's scale position. I'm sorry, that time of the quarter. And so you see here that is added that animator 1 section right here. So we're gonna the position's already fine. The position's already off screen, so we're gonna leave it there. And it's set to 0, 0. And from here, we're gonna hit the stopwatch. Wow, words are escaping me today. And we're gonna make this pretty quick, just only a few frames. And then we're gonna grab it again. You don't have to add a keyframe every time. So what I did right there was I just kind of grabbed it again, and it adds a keyframe automatically. and wherever I leave it, that keyframe will now have that data in it. So now if we grab it here, and that's just a shortcut, you don't have to do that if you're starting off, but it just makes things easier. So once you do that, boom, it shoots in, right? You can play with the timing a little more. You can move this keyframe a little bit to the left and it'll shoot faster. I'm not going to do that. We could. We just leave it like that. It's fine. Cool. And it shoots in. Again, not super, super special. So now we're going to animate the skew of the text. So that should be, it is a little more time consuming, but so what we're going to do is we're going to make the letters bend in a certain direction as it shoots in to make it seem like it's going fast. Then we're going to make it bend backwards as it stops, as if it's like still moving, and then snap back into place. So we're going to hit this animate title. Animate again. And we're going to go to skew. And we're going to go over here to the start. Actually, no, wait. So before we hit the stopwatch, I'm going to keep it here and skew it so that we have like a reference before we go back and do it, because it will be off screen and we won't be able to see it. So we're going to grab it here and we're just going to bend it so that it skews this way or that way. I'm not sure if it's mirrored. I think it's this way. So yeah, now that it's there, again, not do anything super detailed or refined here. We're going to go off screen again. Boop. And we're going to hit the timeline, hit the stopwatch. Wow. And we're going to drag it over here and go to the end of the clip. At the end of the next keyframe where it stops. So then we're going to add another one. Here we're going to make it go straight again briefly before making it bend so that it doesn't bend the whole way. So if I added another one and just changed the direction, it would gradually skew, and we don't want that. We want the skew to change a little abruptly to make it seem like it's going faster. So we're gonna put it back up relatively to where it was before, maybe a little offset. And then after that, we're gonna go like a frame or two, skew it again, but this time in the other direction. And then right after that, maybe like a frame after that, we're going to go back to 0 so that it snaps back into place. So once you do that and we'll play it, it is going to be a little fast just because that's the intent of the effect. So please bear with me. I'm sorry if it doesn't show up that well on Zoom. Yeah. Oh, that was a little too fast, actually. No, I think that was fine. Never mind. It just rendered it really weird. Cool. And now as an extra bonus, we're going to add some motion blur, which is pretty simple, actually. It's not too hard. You can just kind of click something. So we're going to close this up again. Close. And we're just going to go up here. And there's these different settings. There's 3D layers. There's adjustment layers. We're going to go here to motion blur. And we're just going to click it for this text animation. So now there's going to be some motion blur when it shoots in. You see that? So I don't have to be like, whoop. Isn't that fun? Actually, that actually turned out better than I thought it would. Very surprised. Okay, so I really forgot to mention that you should be saving your progress as you go. That would have been really bad if it crashed. But yeah, please try to save it as much as you can. That's just slipped my mind. That was not best practices. So like every 5 minutes, hit Control S and it'll save. And when you do that, it'll take you to a Finder window, find the place where you want to save your project file, and yeah, just name it and then hit save. It's pretty simple. I'm sure you all have worked with that before. We're gonna go to export here. There's a few ways that you could export it. A few, not methods, but a few, formats that you can export it to. So you're gonna go down to File, I'm gonna go to Export, and you can add it to the Adobe Media Encoder queue. I'm not entirely sure why you would use that unless you were trying to export it to like ProRes or I don't know, for some other like professional video rendering software. That you would go to Add to Render Queue. Just for simplicity's sake, let's go there. Let's go here, And I would leave these settings alone. You can go here, the render settings, and just have it to best and full resolution. If that's what you want, you can export it a little smaller if you need to. Like if the project file is too big for what you want, you can export it smaller, like a half, third, a quarter. Let's export it to full because we haven't been able to see it in full resolution yet. And just leave that all alone. That's more advanced settings. Let's not get confused here. Okay, so output modules, leave that at lossless so you don't lose any resolution at all. You can change the format here. I usually just export it in AVI just because it is a smaller video file. You can do MP3 and WAV, but that's for like sound files, so don't do that. Then you won't get any video. So leave it as an AVI and have it as lossless in the AVI. Then you can output to here. So the output will be the name of the video. So let's do that again. Let's After Effects intro. And we're going to put it here into the exports. And it shouldn't take too long to render, actually, because it's not that big of a file. And yeah, we're going to go here and save. And once you're done here, you're going to go over here to render. And it shouldn't take that long, I hope. Yeah, that's it. Magic. I don't know if you heard the ding, but it'll give you a ding letting you know that it is done rendering. So you're gonna go here. We're gonna go to the exports. We're gonna go to the AVI. So we're gonna go here, and we're gonna sort of watch the final product. This shot wasn't like the best resolution in the first place. I shot this a few years ago. But yeah, it's sometimes there's glitches here and there, so you might have to re-export it because there can be errors as it exports. So you got to be very careful with that. So you might have to export something multiple times just to get it correct, depending on your computer. So let's go here, let's hit play. That is it for animating the titles and stuff on Adobe After Effects. We looked at some of the different tools that you can look at, some of the more basic tools that you can look at for animating different things with video as a base. We're going to get rid of this project composition really quick. We're going to grab this shot of the drone that was taken with the drone. And we're going to drag it down here again to make a new composition. Hello. Yep. So look, we have this shot right here. It is rendering at a quarter, so I'm sorry it's not perfect right now. We're going to play that and let that render so that we don't have that much trouble rendering with it in a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab just some text and we're going to paste it right here, and it's going to hopefully stay there. It doesn't always work. You might have to play with it a little bit, but we're going to leave it there so that it stays there and it tracks it there so that it doesn't move, and it's not just it doesn't just stay static in the frame, so that it's not just a basic title on a black screen or something. You'll be able to introduce the title of the film, for example, in a more dynamic way. So we're going to grab it. There's quite a few frames here, and this does involve some frame analysis. So we're going to cut this down. And then I think about there would be fine. We're going to drag this over. And then we're going to grab this little tab over here, which is the ruler tool. I think it's the ruler tool. It's like, but it determines the length of the work area, so that if, for example, if I grabbed another clip or a picture and I put it in there, it'll take up the whole space and it won't end right where we ended. So we don't like that. We don't want to do that. So we'll grab this over here and we'll drag it to the end of the clip. And we'll go to composition, I believe, and then trim comp to work area, so that it's just going to go to the extent of the clip that we added. So from here, there's two ways to do this. And one of them is a lot more complicated than the other, and it can get very messy very quickly, but I'm going to explain it. I'm not going to show it because it can get very messy very quickly. So one of the methods that we can do here is we can track the motion of the scene and have After Effects analyze the entire scene so as to understand the space of the scene. So it'll put markers closer to us, to show the foreground, and markers all over like the buildings and stuff to show that it understands the solids within the frame. From there, we would, of course, after analyzing all of that, we would take that data and apply it to a null object, which is not something that a lot of people are comfortable working with, but I'll explain what it is. A null object is it's an invisible tool, essentially, that you can't really see. You can't see it on your composition, but it is there. And once you have that data, you will apply it to the null object, so that the null object retains all of that tracking information. And after that, and to do all the tracking, it is very messy. Sorry, I forgot to explain that bit. For example, in this kind of shot, if we didn't have the rotation downward, and when we was just zooming in, we would need to have 2 anchor points because it is zooming in. So we would need the text to be anchored in a specific position. But not only that, we would need it to be scaling upward so that it scales up as we get closer, so that it gives the illusion that it is moving with us. So, but in this case, because there is rotation, we would have to track 3 points. And then, sometimes you have to track 4 points, and that can get very messy very quickly. And sometimes After Effects can't track that effectively. So you would have to go back and help it for every single point that it missed. So that can be very time consuming. And especially for a workshop like this, I don't want to do that. So after you do that, you would have your text, you would place it in the position that you would want, and then you would use the pick whip tool to essentially make the null object the parent layer for that text file, that text layer, and then it would track. And that sounds very complicated, and it is a little bit. It's not too difficult. It's just very time consuming and tedious. So we're not going to do that, not for this. So the other method that we're going to do is we're going to use the 3D camera tool, 3D camera tracker. And we're just going to plop that into the layer, and it's going to analyze the scene the same way that we would have done the other way. But instead of that, it's going to have these tracking points all over, and we can select that, select one of those tracking points. And once we do that, we can apply text to that tracking point, which is easier. It doesn't take nearly as long. You can use that tool in very different settings. For example, like if you want to have text on a wall and have it rotate with the wall so that it seems like it's written on the wall, you can do that as well. You would have to play with it to make it blend in with the scene, of course, but we're gonna try it. Again, you would have to finagle with it sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work on the first time, so you'd have to go back and redo it because After Effects doesn't get it on the first time. Hopefully it does. It may not, but I hope y'all get the general idea. So we have this shot here. And again, stop me if you have any questions. That was a lot of information. So we're gonna go, we have this clip right here. It's rendered, it's fine. It's low res. There might be some problems tracking it because of the high contrast. So we're gonna go here to the effects and presets, and we are going to type in 3D, hello, please, 3D camera tracker. We're gonna grab this, we're gonna drag it, and we're gonna plop it on this layer right here. Right now it's analyzing, and it is gonna take a second to analyze. So what it's doing right now, it is analyzing every single pixel in every single frame, going frame by frame and analyzing the shot so that it can map its points in 3D space. So it is a very complicated procedure, and it does take some time. It might take a few minutes here. Okay, so y'all see these points, these dots that that After Effects has tracked for us. So this looks a bit overwhelming. If these are too small for y'all to see, we could change the size of the track point, but to me, it seems pretty okay. You can make them huge. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep them the way they are. We're going to change the target size though, because it is overwhelmingly big. So we're going to change that maybe to like 50%. Let's go down to here. Maybe a little smaller, like 40 something. That should be okay. Okay, so from here, it doesn't really matter at one point that you decide to start tracking your text. From here, though, I like to start usually where the text is going to be. So I want to put the text right here in this little like park area of the city. So we're going to go here and we're going to find the plane that works for us. Oh, wow. That was pretty perfect. Wait. Okay. So we're going to click here. We're going to left click on it. And it's going to give us those three dots, those three yellow tracking points. And from here, we're going to right click on it and we're going to create text in camera. And it's going to give us that huge text that I don't know how to change that setting. Oh my God. Okay. Not what I wanted to do. No. Okay. Thank you. We're going to go to the text tool really quick. Let's change this to white just to match with this scene a little more. From here, we're going to hit the 3D tracker camera. Go back here. And now so this looks a little bit confusing, and it is. We're going to use this to kind of map it to where we want it to be, this text to be in the space. So we're going to grab here, we're going to drag this down and bring it closer to the ground. Hello, please. I think my computer's freaking out because I'm trying to broadcast this as well. So I'm sorry for any technical difficulties that we're having right now. I'm going to drag this down. And we can rotate this a little bit. You can also change the z-axis here so that it flips. You can have it standing up on the ground. You can do whatever, pretty much anything you want with it. We're going to have it laying down pretty much just so that it seems like we're passing over it. So we're going to grab this. You can obviously play with this a little more just to make it more seamless. We're just going to leave it here for now. And hopefully that should be it and it should stay. But as I said before, this process can be a little tedious because it may not track the first time. You may have to go back and do it again until it does. I think in this scene, we're going to have some issues again because of the contrast, because of the lighting situation. But honestly, does it? Yep, see, already it's not tracking at the right point. That's not what we wanted. All right, welcome back everyone. This is Angelo. Unfortunately, we could not get the tracking effect to work during the workshop and we had to end it a little early. I wrestled with it and I wrestled with it and I wrestled with it and I'd gotten it to work before, but I don't know why it just wasn't working anymore. But it turns out that After Effects was having trouble tracking the points, tracking the 3D points because it was too dark. The images, it was having trouble just locking them in because it was too dark. There was not enough information for it. So the text kept drifting away from the anchor point that I'd set. So after, battling with it, I decided to choose a brighter scene that it would have an easier time tracking. So if we play right here, you can see that the test, there's a test text, it'll move towards us and scale with us as if we're actually passing it in the scene. And of course it doesn't look very convincing because it's a goofy little font, but you can definitely use that to your advantage whenever you're actually trying to make a title sequence for your film. So it'll move past us as the house does. So it's just a really easy little trick that you can do. It doesn't take very long. Of course, you'd have to toggle with it a little more so that it looks a little more convincing. But if we grab it while it's close right here, hello, yeah, we can actually grab it and we can rotate it. Let's not do that though. Let's try this so that we'll see it more as we pass over it, just a little more. But as we move back, you'll see that the angle changes as well, so that you can't really see it that well until you get close to it. Yeah, so you can definitely play with that and get creative with it and make something look pretty convincing. For example, you can put like text on the wall, on a wall in a city or something. Definitely use this to your advantage. With the other scene, when it was really dark, I would have recommended using the other method that I discussed during the workshop, which does get a little messy, but that would have been the adequate method to do. But yeah, so thank you all so much for coming to the After Effects workshop. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it helpful. And please reach out to us if you have any more questions. Thank you.